Our first workshop is about leveraging LinkedIn to your career. Our speaker believes that with the right tools, success is what you will create, not what creates you. These tools include definite methods for using leadership, communications, and change to get remarkable results in business and in life. She has trained countless people along the West Coast and other locations on these methods, including the formula you will pick up today on how to best utilize LinkedIn. She works with executives and employees from established firms to pre IPO startups to people looking for a new career opportunity. At the root of all is her love to empower others with information that helps to step up to their own professional and personal best, just as she intends to do today. Everyone, please welcome past District 4 Governor and two-time distinguished Toastmaster, Rita Barber.
Okay, I have unmuted myself, I think, correct? Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am very excited about sharing this workshop with you. A couple of things first. If you have any questions, don't feel like you need to hang on to them till the very end. Just please raise your hand and Carrie Lynn will get in touch with you and we will answer your question sooner rather than later. Also, at the very end of the entire session, if there are some people that have extra questions and you want to hang out for a little bit, we will certainly do that. We'll hang out and I'll answer some extra questions because there's a lot to share here in an hour, and some of the things you may have questions on, we may not even touch upon, but that doesn't mean that we can't answer it for you right away. And then lastly, do be sure to take notes. This is not one of those, here's exactly what I just said to you. And seeing a recording of this production is a great thing to do if you are not here. But if you're already here, it could be a little bit laborious, I think, to have to listen to it all over again and watch it all over again. We're going to talk about today, just so we give you the lay of the land, it's all about LinkedIn and it's about your career. And we're going to talk about a couple of different areas. We're going to talk about your profile, and that's where we're really going to do the deep dive, where we talk about how to do your profile in a way that is compelling and will catch the eyes of others. We're also going to talk about how to stretch yourself out even further on LinkedIn. It's an incredible playground in its own right, in that there are different things that you can do so that you bring the spotlight onto yourself and whatever your professional abilities are that you'd like others people to see. And this goes for people that are looking for employment, they're looking for consulting gigs, they're looking for anything under the sun. I am a person there myself that does some fishing on LinkedIn, and it usually yields very good results for me. Then lastly, we're going to talk about some of the other things that you can do above and beyond with LinkedIn, such as do put it on your signature. If you have a signature on your email, having your LinkedIn profile right on there would be a very good thing for people to see so that they can click on it and then they see exactly where you are at that particular moment. So those are the different areas that we're going to talk about. The very first thing that I would say is you want to take a look at what exactly it is that you want to do. And I mean, really, what do you want to do? This is the number one question when I work with individuals. It's not so much what are you doing or what do you think you're going to get paid for, but what is it that you want to do? Those may not go hand in hand together. It's a very big difference. And you have to get clarity on that, because the people who will notice you on LinkedIn are going to be the ones that are drawn to your profile as you've laid it out there. If you put something on there, like, let's say, I'm going to throw anything there, firefighter, but you no longer want to be a firefighter. Guess what people are going to contact you about? Being a firefighter. So you don't really want that to be the highlight of what your profile is all about. You want to think in terms of, what is it that I want people to call me for? And you want that kind of clarity in a way that you know and feel very comfortable with. I always say that if you don't know where you're going, you're liable to end up somewhere else. So first, know where it is that you want to go. And there's a very interesting way of using LinkedIn, sort of in a backdoor sort of way. Let's say that you decide that you would like to be a program manager, but you're not really sure what will all of that entail. Well, LinkedIn is great to use just to put in program manager and to do a search for different positions for program manager and see what people are looking for. See whether or not it resonates for you, if it's something that you want to move a little bit further with or not. So this is one of the first things that I'll say to you. Then, of course, there are things that you can do, like take personality assessments that are more geared towards professions. Myers-Briggs, as an example. There's so many different things and so many offerings on the internet nowadays. So I suggest to you that if you're not completely clear where you want to go, do these things first before you start to put your profile together, and you'll start to get the results that you want rather than being sent somewhere else in a direction that you don't really want to go. The other thing is that once you start to work on your profile on LinkedIn, you have a way of tuning it out from other people so that they don't see that, oh, Rita Barber made a change. Rita Barber made a change. Rita Barber made a change. You don't want to see that going on and on and on all the time. You want to keep that to a dull roar. So what I suggest that you do is you take a look at where it says, when you're editing your profile, where it says editing, you click on that. And if you look over to the right and down one button, it'll say, well, it doesn't say keep this a secret, but it says, oh my God, it's just terrible when a person laughs. It'll say edit visibility. That's what it'll say, all right? Where it says edit visibility, just click on that. And now nobody is going to be able to know when you make different changes and so forth. And you can make as many changes as you want and then eventually put it back on there. That isn't to say that when you make a change on LinkedIn, you should do it this one time. When you want to make a change, you should constantly be revising your LinkedIn profile. But the big change is the one where you don't necessarily want people to see you changing things over and over and over again. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, great.
Great. Rita.
Yes.
We have our first question, which you may have answered it, but I don't know LinkedIn, so I'm going to read this to you just to make sure.
Okay.
Satish says, I've heard that LinkedIn uses a set of criteria or attributes to match you with the job or a recruiter's needs. How do we find out these criteria and modify your profile accordingly so that you are a match for your dream job?
All right, great question.
So that you can highlight your strengths.
Yeah, that is an absolutely great question. And I was just getting ready to start to talk about that. It's not so much that LinkedIn necessarily has this criteria, although they do, but that's not the criteria that you yourself want to focus on. What I suggest to you is, once you know this is the position that I'm going for, whether it's a position that you are currently in, it's a step above where you currently are, or it's something entirely different from what it is that you want to do. What you want to do is look at positions on LinkedIn that are already like that. Look at the language that they use. Look at the transferable skills that they discuss. You look at those different things, because what you want to do, and you may have heard this with regards to putting resumes together, is you want to mirror what you're seeing. Because what will happen in the meantime is recruiters, whoever it is that's doing the hiring, they're going to put in those words. I'm looking for somebody who can leap tall buildings in a single bound. And then boom, they're going to come right into where it is that you are and be able to see, oh, he leaps buildings. That's great. That kind of a thing like that. So study study a little bit, learn how to mirror terms and expressions that are being used, and put that inside of your profile on the words that you have to say. And that will help you be discovered, so to speak. The other thing too is think about your headline. One thing that I've always said is people look at things at eye level. It's kind of like if you go to the supermarket and you need to pick up cereal. If you go to the cereal aisle, the most expensive cereal is where? It's at eye level. The reason why it's at eye level is because everybody knows someone's going to go there. They're going to go straight to where that most expensive cereal is. They're going to look right at it. They're going to grab it. They don't really want to look up. They don't want to really look down. They'll grab that cereal and off they'll go. Your profile is the same thing. So when you think about it, what's at eye level? When you look at a profile, what do you see at eye level? And that's another thing that would be a good study for you, is to just look at other people's profiles. Just see, what do you like about the profiles and what don't you like about the profiles? And by the way, if you do that, my suggestion to you is do not look at the profiles of your friends, all right? Because you're going to have built-in prejudice if you do that. Look at the profiles of people perhaps that you don't know entirely. Or by the same token, look at the profile of somebody who you admire immensely. How is this person's profile set up? All right. And then, by the way, who are the people that that person admires? Because it's important to study that too. That's studying up for your profile is what you're doing there. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Did I see a question? No. Okay. So the next thing that we want to talk about is we want to look at putting in your word, how your words go in there. Now, it's very different from a resume. On a resume, we do things like we kind of stay away from pronouns entirely. In LinkedIn, you want to use the pronoun. You want to use the I. I've done this. This is, you don't want to just depersonalize it so much. So be sure to use that on there. And by the way, someone had asked me just the other day, could he make some adjustments on his profile, even though he had just changed his profile, but he was really trying to zero in on a particular job? And yes, absolutely you can. You can do that. That's what I was saying about occasionally changing your profile and what you do with it. Once you get that eye level stuff done, then you want to think to yourself, how am I going to lay out what it is that I do? When you lay out what it is that you do, what's super important is to be able to share that information in a way where it is comfortable for a person to read, it is comprehensible, and it's something that then they'll say, I want to find out a little bit more about this person. LinkedIn is only there to open the door for you. It's not there to get you the job. So all we really want to do is make sure, how do we get this door open the best way possible? And by the way, when you do change your profile, once you start getting some phone calls or more phone calls on your background for whatever reason, whether it's for employment or a consulting gig or whatever it is, be sure to ask, what drew you to my profile? Because that's the kind of thing that now you're honing in what you may want to duplicate more and more. Next, you want to look for the alumni associations on LinkedIn that you belong to, because this is really about networking. It's not just about your profile, but it's about networking too. And the sooner that you can start adding those pieces in as you're working on your profile, the better for you, the more connected you'll be. You find out where those different alumni associations are. There might be some people there that you already know. Even if there are no people there that you already know, they'll embrace you anyway. They'll say, hey, great, what year did you go? Tell me about yourself. What was your major, et cetera, et cetera. And then you'll start to have these dialogues that go on. Now, they're not going to go on as long as some of the dialogues that I've seen go on Facebook, but they are enough, again, to just let them know that you're a real person. And I think that that's one of the things that's great about LinkedIn, is that it shows how authentic you are. I want to take a step backwards here. I just mentioned Facebook to you. Oh my gosh. So I like Facebook for the fun of it, right? I like to see Arnie's posts. I agree with Arnie very much on a lot of the things that he says, and it gives me great pleasure to see his posts. It really does. Just like some other people just drive me nuts with what it is that they have to say. It's all emotional stuff, right? It's all personal stuff. That's not what's happening on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's all about being professional. But here's the thing. If they find you on LinkedIn, they're going to look for you elsewhere. So if you are doing silly things like having pictures taken of yourself drinking beer or all kinds of other alcohol on Facebook or wherever, please understand it is not going to work out in your best favor. It really isn't. Do get rid of any pictures that you have like that, wherever they may be, understanding that nothing is gone 100% on the internet. Somewhere in Russia, your picture is popping up and they're going to send it back to you. But try and get rid of those pictures as best that you possibly can on the other sites, so that when people see you at your most professional best on LinkedIn, they don't wind up with a lousy surprise of seeing you drink too many beers on some other site. All right, does this make good sense? Okay, then the next thing is you want to talk about is you want to look at how your resume is going to show up, or how your work shows up on LinkedIn. It is going to go towards the bottom. I will tell you right now that no more than a couple of lines for each. It doesn't have to be the whole breakdown. And it really shouldn't go back further than 15 years maximum. All right. You can mention this person has been doing this I've been doing this for over 20 years, but you don't want to put down every little thing that you've done in all the years that you've done there. And your picture, it's going to be a nice professional picture. I have worked with some people where we put in pictures that really help underscore their background. I'll give you as an example, a gentleman I worked with who really was moving into CEO territory. And so what we did with him, with his picture, is we worked on his having a picture where he was presenting a PowerPoint behind him, and he looked like the man in charge. He looked like the one who knew this is what's going on, this is why it's going on, and it was just a great picture. That kind of thing is great to do. Little things like that, where you can do things that make things a little bit different, little things like that will serve you very well, because when you do little things like that, you stand up. So if I'm doing a search for a particular person and I find a number of people that I say, oh, Abhijit might be a great person for this position. Oh, Arnie might be a great person for this position. I put them to the side. Then when I compare the two of them together, if I see that one of them seems to show some initiative, something that makes them stand out a little bit more, that is going to be the person that I'm going to reach out to first. And I don't care what anybody tells you. Nobody wants to take a lot of time hiring someone. You want to do it as quickly as humanly possible. So whatever it is that you can do to find that person, that's what you do. All right. Now, another part that you can look at too is look at the groups that they have on LinkedIn that you can and should belong to. Maybe you should belong to them now because you already are doing that thing that you want to do more of, or be paid more to do. Or maybe you want to do it a little bit in a way where you want to do something entirely different, but you need to be in part of those groups. Join those groups. You can't network enough when it comes to that kind of thing. And it doesn't mean that you need to look at all the alerts that there are. It just means that you need to schedule a time for yourself, perhaps once a day if you're actively looking. Still, if you're not actively looking, I recommend at least once a week, where you look at the different groups. What are they saying? What's going on? You just jump into LinkedIn. If you like a post that you see, you say that you like it. If you don't like a post that you see, guess what you need to say? Ah, I see some nodding heads out there. Yeah. If you don't like something that you see, don't say anything about it. You don't need to knock somebody, that's for sure. But you know what you can do? It's an opportunity for you. It's an opportunity for you to write down what your point of view is on it in as professional a way as possible and to post that. That's a good way of doing it without even ever mentioning the post that you didn't agree with. Don't mention that at all. Rather, just simply mention what it is that you feel about it and share that information with someone. People value the truth. It resonates like no other. So put it on there. The busier that you can be that way, liking things that you really like, putting in an occasional article on there, sharing an article that you've read. Maybe you haven't written it, but you read it and you feel that it's a very good article from the point of view that it has value on so many different levels. Do that too. The more that you can do things like that, the better. But do try and make sure that you're doing it on a regular basis. All right. Now let's see. I wanted to talk about the comment side on LinkedIn too, with regards to companies. Sometimes you'll get these announcements. I get them where they'll say, congratulations to such and such a company. They are now going public or something like that. And it's a company that you know for whatever reason that you know it. This is a great opportunity too, to not only comment to that company because you'll hear from someone that you may know there, but it's also a chance for you maybe to offer an opportunity to someone that you know who'd like to go there. So that when you do make that comment, a lot of times they'll say, hey, Rita, thanks so much for saying that. That was really great. Then you can say, yeah, that's great. You know what? I know somebody who I think you should be connected with. And it's just, it's like magic. It just works so easily. It's a good thing to do. Okay. Any questions? Carrie Lynn? Okay. I see some little chat things there, but I don't have to look at those. Okay, I won't look at those. All right, cool. All right. Okay, so the other thing too is your contact details. Your contact details do absolutely need to be on your LinkedIn profile page. Put your phone number on there. Put your email on there.
Well, sorry, I am going to interrupt you before you go on because we just did get one. What is the value of endorsements on LinkedIn, and do people actually look at them?
So they do look at them. They absolutely do look at them. They look at them for a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of value to it. There's enough value to it that I would say to you that you should go after them. You shouldn't just wait for someone to say, I've got an endorsement for you. But if you've just done a gig, as an example, or you are working at a job and someone says, oh my gosh, you're so good at what you do, be sure to say to them, would you mind putting that together in a few words for LinkedIn? And if they seem to recoil in the least at all, it might be because they feel like it's taking too much of their time. My suggestion to you is to say, I'd be happy to just write it up myself and give it to you. And if you approve it, then you can put it on LinkedIn. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you want to go ahead and do that. But if you can do it, definitely do it. I was looking at my endorsements the other day, realizing that they need a little bit of a cleanup and I need to get some new stuff on there. And that's something that I'll tell you too. If you have endorsements on there that are a couple of years old or 3 years old or whatever, those are pretty much flat tires. They're not going to take you anywhere, right? You want to have something that's a little more modern than that or a little more current than that. So think about the people that you are working with right now and have endorsements written to them. And by the same token, of course, if you are asking someone for an endorsement, you don't really want to do it where it's going to be a, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine kind of thing. You really don't want to do that. But you do want to let them know that you appreciate what they're doing too. And if they ever need something along that lines, that you would be happy to do that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Alrighty. So then the next thing now that we're going to do is we've talked about the picture. We've talked about your headline on your profile. We've talked about how you were going to say everything in the first pronoun. In the I, it's I. It's not Arnie did this and Arnie did that. It's I did this and I did that. That kind of thing like that. You're going to join the groups that are applicable to you. You're going to join the groups that you're interested in. You're going to look at how you're going to get from one career to another. And this is the thing that we really haven't done a deep dive in that's important to do. A lot of people are done with whatever it is that they were doing, but people are more scared than ever now to change jobs. I mean, just take a look at what's going on. But that doesn't mean that they should stay paralyzed in fear. They still need to go after what it is that they want to go after. But the way that you go about it is pretty important. Consider that the transferable skills that you have are skills that are applicable in so many different fields and that are needed. And start to emphasize what your transferable skills are as they apply to the next position that you want to go to. Make sure that that is part and parcel of what you're sharing with everybody, that they see, oh, wow, look, Carrie Lynn can do X, Y, Z. This is great. And then they'll reach out to her and say, we'd like to have you do this. Whoops, something's just popped up on my computer. I don't know if you see it there. Okay, it's all gone. So that's the thing that you want to do. You want to consider doing it that particular way. You also, if you want to go for something that's entirely different, and by the way, this is one of my favorite things, is when people want to go for something entirely different and they ask me to help them with them. I love doing this stuff because I swear you can always find just how it'll all work for them, right? And it's so much fun to be able to share that information. Here's how it works. You've got somebody who, let's say, is an engineer, and they decide that instead what they want to do is they want to be an event planner, all right? And you take a look at what their background is, you take a look at everything, but here's where it goes into the deep dive. You find out, so what do you do? What do you volunteer as doing? Well, that really can't count because I don't get paid for it. Oh my goodness. Volunteering counts as much, and in many instances more, than what you do professionally, because it's really where you're showing your passion. And if I'm an employer looking to hire you, and I can see that you're showing your passion, that this is something that you really love, that already makes me feel a sense of great trust towards you. That makes me feel that sense of, this person is going to be able to do what I want to do because this is the thing that she's passionate about. So it's okay to do that. And it's okay to say something just as straight as, I've been an engineer for X amount of times and I've volunteered as an event planner. I am now moving into event planning on a professional basis. And then share that information. It's honest, super important stuff, be honest. It shows that you've done it before, so it's not like you're a stranger. And I've always said in Toastmaster land that being able to get people to do something when you're not paying them is magical, because the fact of the matter is that people, you think, only want to get paid. That's not true. The fact of the matter is there's a paycheck and there's a payoff. And if you can show that you will do something for the payoff, for getting something out of it that is above and beyond money, you are incredibly valuable. And people will look at you and want to work with you and want to talk to you for sure. They'll want details on what it is that you have. So be ready with those details. Be ready with whatever it is that you need to have, a number, as an example. If you say that you have been an event planner for an organization that has 6 people, I don't know. That may not be all that impressive, but if you say I'm an event planner with organizations that have hundreds of people or close to 100 people or whatever, when you get into the bigger numbers, it shows that you really have got some organizing to do and you're juggling balls, and that's what someone's going to want to see. So think about doing that. Don't look at LinkedIn only to do what you want to do, what you're doing currently, but look at it also for what your future is for you and what you want to do in your future that will be good for you. Let's see, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about let's see, we talked about mirroring the language. We talked about eye-level material. Oh, the background photo. Yeah, I didn't want to forget about that for you guys too. The background photo, you know how on a LinkedIn profile, you'll see a picture that's there, and sometimes there's this blank background. Well, you don't want that. You want to make sure you've got some kind of a picture there. And it would be great for the background picture if it was something that, again, could more or less underscore what it is that you're interested in doing, right? Like, I really love to work with people on talking about leadership skills or issues that they may have in leadership. I mean, I just love that. So my background has got a bunch of, well, my background has that same kind of cartoon thing that I have on the bottom of my Toastmaster signature, because it's like, there it is, leadership and all the different facets of leadership that are so interesting. So think about that too. Get a good background photo on there. If you're not sure, ask somebody who will be honest with you, all right? You could even send it to me and just say, this is what I want to do. This is the background photo I was thinking about using. What do you think? And I will give you a super quick yes or no on it, you know? The same is true, by the way, with your main objective line that is up there, that eye level line that says, this is who you are. If you send that to me quickly, I can't spend an awful lot of time on them, but if you send it to me quickly and say, this is what my line is, can you tell me, does it work or how does it work, etc.? I'd be more than happy to let you know whether or not it's going to be any good for you. Now, the thing is that then we get to the interview, hopefully. You did all the things. Oh, Carrie Lynn?
I want to say, so we have a few more questions about pictures. Are you willing to answer those before we move on? Okay, because we're getting some. So someone asked, I was planning to change my role and have added related information to my LinkedIn page, but I chose later to stay in my previous role, but have not changed my role in my profile. This is sort of, is profile picture necessary on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
I think those are two different questions, but I'm not quite sure. But
okay, well, so she changed her role and changed her picture when she changed her role?
I chose later to stay in my previous role, but have not changed my role on my profile. So she was planning on taking a previous role. Would you like to, okay, I'll read it again. I was planning to change my role and have added related information to my LinkedIn page, but I chose later to stay in my previous role, but have not changed my role on my profile. And is a profile picture necessary on LinkedIn?
So it's two different questions, basically.
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Well, to the first question, it would really depend on what you're planning on doing next, or if you're not planning on making a change, but these are still applicable things that you've done that you would like to do again, then I would leave it on there. All right. If it's applicable to it, you didn't like doing them then, you don't want to ever do them again, take them off. Take anything off your LinkedIn profile that you don't like to do. Anything, all right? With regards to the picture, absolutely. And I'm not one of those people that's, a freak about pictures and everything like that and how many different pictures that you can have. But that's the name of the game on LinkedIn. It's basically being able to feel like you are connecting to someone, that you can, if you see a picture of them on LinkedIn, when you go to meet at Starbucks or on Zoom, that person is going to look like what you saw, not this blank thing. And certainly I just saw one today, it just kind of blew my mind. You know how they make those avatars? Well, I saw on LinkedIn, oh my gosh, it was an avatar with the guy, he put his head like this, okay? And he had this kind of weird look on his face, and it was an avatar. And I thought to myself, wow, where is this guy coming from? It didn't fly. That's all there is to it. If someone is going to interview him and you see that avatar like that, I swear an avatar better walk in the room, you know? So my suggestion to you on that is, yes, absolutely have a picture. Make sure that it's a professional picture. It doesn't have to be a professional picture, by the way, where you have to pay money. If you don't have money to do it, that's okay. Try and give yourself a blank background or a solid colored black background. Make sure that you're professionally dressed. You could practically do this probably yourself, but have somebody else do it for you. Put it on your computer, clean it up a little bit, and then put it on your LinkedIn profile, and there you have it. You didn't have to pay for it. If you do pay for it, you'll have even better results, probably, but you don't have to pay for it. Okay? Did that answer those questions?
Yes.
But okay, did you have another one too?
Yeah, and we might all know the answer to this one, but I want to read it anyway. I have a portrait picture which I took at a beach, which looked good, and that's the picture I have on LinkedIn for many years. Do you think it might not look good for future employers? Picture taken on the beach.
So
looks good.
how are you dressed on the beach?
We'll unmute this person. They can talk if they want to.
Yeah, that's a very professional picture. I can send it to you after this call. This is my headshot, just me, but the background is the ocean.
The background is the, you know, I mean, what is the kind of position you're going for?
TPM, EPM type of roles, engineering, program, product management.
So does that feel like that's the right background to you?
After you are telling me, I feel like I should change it. But until then, I see other people backgrounds, other people pictures. They're mixed, not necessarily very in the suit in a very professional manner. They're all over the place. I didn't notice that I should be changing.
Right. You know, here's the thing. There are countless profiles on LinkedIn that need improvement. There are countless profiles. And you really want to think to yourself, how can I play the best game in town? That's really what it comes down to. It's important that even if there's other people that are at the beach, even if it was your favorite beach in the world and it gives you energy to see it, which I can appreciate that. If it doesn't show you at your most professional best, it needs to be replaced. You just change it. That's all there is to it. So my suggestion to you is that you do change it. And the ocean background, maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a good Facebook kind of picture, you know, but I don't think that it's appropriate for LinkedIn. And the thing is too, is that's it's a big issue. You're going to see a lot of different examples out there. Excuse me. You're going to see a lot of different examples out there of what not to do, but because it doesn't say don't do this, you may not realize that you shouldn't do this, but you do have that little voice inside of you that says, does this look like this person's professional best? And if the answer isn't an overwhelming yes, then you don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it, even if it's fun. I mean, look, I got to tell you, I giggled a lot when I saw that avatar on the LinkedIn profile. I mean, I thought it was really, really funny, but I'm not there to be a stand-up comic, right? And that guy wasn't there to be a stand-up comic either. So it may be eye-catching, but it's the wrong kind of eye-catching.
Got it. Do you have any thoughts on people using similar avatar? I've seen a VP of engineering using similar avatar on Slack. So inside the company, did you have any thoughts about using
I'm sorry,
avatar?
could you repeat, could you
Slack.
say that again a little bit louder?
If you are you familiar with the tool called Slack, instant messenger? People using avatars in that quite a bit. But I have my picture in that Slack instant messenger. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on that internal to the company, having the right picture.
So, okay, so if I understand you, then you've got your picture with this company called Slack, right?
No. The Slack instant messenger we use inside the company. Do you think we should have a professional picture in that as well?
I think it would probably be the best way to go. Yeah, definitely.
I see.
Or again, if you've got somebody that's really good and they're an amateur, but they're really good, then you might want to go with that too. I know this young lady who is a very good photographer, and she took some pictures of her brothers for LinkedIn profiles. And I swear, you could have paid her hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That's how good the quality was. I mean, the lighting was great. Everything was absolutely great, just great. So it could be done by someone who isn't going to take any money. But the more professional you look, the better it is for you. That's for sure. That's really what it comes down to. And the thing is too, is that on LinkedIn, in case you don't already know, and you probably do already know, you're going to have people look at your LinkedIn profile if they're thinking about investing in your company or investing in anything that you're doing, more than just hiring you for as an employee or as a consultant. They're going to be looking at you for other professional reasons too. So you always want to make sure that that professional best is out there. And that reminds me of a company that actually the CEO, and I'm not sure what the title of the second person was, but they both, their pictures of their company, they were both drinking beers, right, on LinkedIn. And the company's gone now, by the way. And I'm not saying it's because they drank beer on LinkedIn, but I will tell you, it's that kind of mindset that doesn't help, right? If you're really serious about whatever it is that you're doing, then show that you're really serious about whatever it is that you're doing.
I will change it today. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to look for you. Send me your name. All right. Carrie Lynn?
Okay. We have a question about sharing articles and posts. Do you mind elaborating more on why it is important to share articles and post regularly? I notice lots of low quality posts popping in my feed.
Say that last part.
I notice lots of low quality posts popping in my feed.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, people do things right and they do things wrong. Here's the reason why it's so important, is that it places you as a person who is in the know in a particular area, right? So in fact, I got into this bad kind of habit just because it's where my brain was going and I didn't know where else to put it. I started becoming like, I hope there's nobody from Amazon on here, but I started to become the critical eye of Amazon, you know, looking at everything that was going on with Amazon and looking at this stuff and saying, wow, this is really cool. And looking at other stuff and saying, oh my gosh, this is, I don't know about this. What if they did this instead? What if it was like that? Or what? And I was writing articles just in my Amazon fantasy world. Okay. But it had nothing to do with me at all. But I mean, this is how it can be sometimes. It's nobody's going to read it on Facebook, I'll tell you that much. But you just start putting it out there. That's what happens. That's not what you want to do. What you really want to do is you want to put something out there where, let's say as an example, your company is killing it in one particular area, or a company that you admire and you want to work for potentially, they're great for that particular. You want to put an article out there like that. You want to share articles that you have written or that you forward, because it puts you in alignment with the professionals who are already doing what it is that you want to do, or doing it more than what you're doing right now. That's why you want to do it. You want people to have your name pop up for all the right reasons, by the way. So that's why I say you want to do it on a regular basis. I would suggest no more than once a week. Maybe you could do a little bit like every other week, but on a regular basis, you want to do it. You don't want to do it on a daily basis. You heavens to Murgatroyd, don't want to do it like several times a day. There was a person who did that. Oh my gosh. And it just kept on popping up on my feed. And the fact of the matter is that there was just nothing that I could do to get rid of that person, except that I knew that there was no way that this was somebody that I was ever going to speak to in any way, shape, or form, because professionally, she just she just turned me off. It was just way too much. So you just want to make sure not to do that. Okay, does that answer your question? Hopefully. Carrie Lynn?
Not sure, but we have one more. I'm going to kind of combine these two. It's about connecting with people. What are the best practices to connect with someone on LinkedIn? Should you connect with people you've met once in person or just virtually? You met them 3 times or only once. What's the best practices? And then there's also a similar question about second and third level connections. And is that
both great questions?
Yeah.
If for some reason I miss the second and third, just please remind me to respond to that one too, because that's super duper important. I believe in connecting with people immediately. You don't need to like bump into them 2 times or have coffee twice or whatever. I mean, when I meet somebody professionally or I meet somebody who I want to connect with on LinkedIn, 1 time is good enough for me. And I will give them my business card. I will get their business card. I will let them know my LinkedIn address is on my business card. And I will let them know that I'd like to connect with them on LinkedIn, probably right then and there when we're exchanging cards or speaking over the phone or via email, whatever the direction is. And even if I don't get a chance to let them know that, I will still connect with them right away. If I have their email address, it makes it super, super easy, because sometimes LinkedIn will be kind of cranky and it'll just kind of say, well, you know, you're really not paying enough for the privilege of doing this. And it's sort of like, oh, you know, so if you have that email address, it's super easy, because you can just say, well, I have their email address, and then they let you through, and then that's all there is to it. So do it right away. 1 time is all it should really take. The more connections that you make, the better for you, because it just kind of cross feeds. And what will end up happening is that you may very well likely find a position that you're interested in, that you want to go for. And that person who you didn't connect with because you were feeling a little bit shy was the person that could connect you. So be sure to reach out and connect with people right away on LinkedIn. Now, second and third degree connections, those are wonderful, because if you know who your connections are that are connected to the second or first degree of who you want to be connected with, you can let that person know, hey, could you please connect me with so-and-so? I'd like to discuss a whatever you want to say, you know, a business opportunity, job opportunity, consulting opportunity, whatever it is. So go ahead and reach out to that person and let them know that you want to do, you know, that you want to connect with someone. And then it will also, by the same token, broaden out your network that much more. In other words, it will give you that chance then to connect with that person who was second or third degree into becoming a first degree person. Make sense? Okay. Carrie Lynn?
Real quick, you might have answered this too, but should you target who you want to link up with or be an open networker?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it's better to be an open networker, frankly, because you don't know who knows who and how and why and how it's all changing and everything like that. So I think it's good to do the open networking. I think I see some people sometimes, they have this acronym. It's LION, LinkedIn, like that they have tons and tons. I don't like to connect with those people, frankly. And I don't, because I feel like they just really want to connect people. They want to collect people, but that they don't really have a purpose in what they're doing. I like to connect with people that I feel are more or less on the same journey that I'm on. And so that's one thing that I will stay away from. But otherwise, I think connecting with people that reach out to me and say, I'd like to connect with you, I'll go ahead and connect with you. And if I don't want to connect with them, I just basically skip them. And in about a year, they'll disappear. It takes a while, but they disappear eventually. Okay.
Satish tells us that's LinkedIn Open Networker. Lion.
LinkedIn
Lion.
Open Networker. There you go. That's what, yeah. Well, but they have this thing where they say something ridiculous, like I have 1 million connections. It's kind of like, how's that working for you, right? I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it's good to have a number of connections. I frankly don't know how many connections I have. I think it's over 500, but I'm not in it for the number of connections. I'm in it for the ways that I can utilize those connections, either for myself or somebody that I know. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, and one from way back when you were talking, someone was asking about, can you find it? Is it okay to put, should you post educational degrees that are decades old, like an MA or PhD?
Yeah, I just wouldn't put the year on it. Frankly, I wouldn't. And I want to be clear about that too, because we, I think, are finally coming out of this deep slumber of thinking that people after a certain age are not as worthy as people that are under that certain age. It would seem that more and more that's happening. I just did a blog with someone who definitely is of that mindset, and she herself, I would say, is probably under 35. I'm seeing that more and more all the time. But I really don't like to give people the advantage of being able to figure out things like that, right? I didn't like it actually way back when I was young. People would think that I was much older than I was. And then they'd find out how old or young I was, and they'd say, well, you really can't do that because you're too young. And it's kind of like, you just hired me. What do you mean? And then now that I maybe am not on that side of young any longer, when people are kind of like, oh yeah, so when did you graduate from USC? And it's kind of like, oh, a while ago. That's basically all you're gonna get from me. All right. So I think that basically the fact of the matter is that putting the degree is good. Putting the date, it's optional. I probably wouldn't put it if it was longer than 15.
Great.
Okay.
And Jeffrey asks, can you have a bad connection? And can a connection hurt you on LinkedIn?
Oh. When you say a bad connection, what? Somebody who is, what do you mean by a bad connection? You're on mute.
Rita, someone like your mother-in-law, someone who's not in your profession?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. I really wouldn't worry about that. I really wouldn't worry about a connection that, I wouldn't worry about a connection that basically you yourself are not endorsing, right? So if your mother-in-law, let's say, was somebody that you wrote this endorsement on and you were just gushing over how wonderful she was, and you realize that she definitely was not, and she was problematic, etc. Well, that's probably not the best thing to do, and you probably don't want to do that again. But if it's somebody who is on there and you're just connected to them, and you're just part of a dull roar in the LinkedIn community with that person, it's not going to hurt you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Great. One that just came in. Whenever I go on LinkedIn, I get overwhelmed to see all those connections and I just log out. I don't feel comfortable somehow. How do you make yourself comfortable in using LinkedIn?
Yeah. First off, are you connected to any groups on LinkedIn?
Let me unmute them. They want to talk. Find it. Sorry, working on it.
Okay, not a problem.
There you go.
Okay.
No.
Are you connected to any groups on LinkedIn?
No, I'm not connected to any groups.
So that would be the thing I'd recommend that you do first, so that you have a destination to go to when you're on LinkedIn. Not only that, but when you go on LinkedIn, if you're connected to different groups, the feeds that'll come on when you go on to LinkedIn will pop up for you and you'll see it. It'll say different things like, oh, Megan Meyer wrote a paper on XYZ, and then you can look it up and see it there and comment on it. That will help. I can see where it could be a little bit overwhelming otherwise, but that will help an awful lot. The other thing too is to go there with an idea in mind in terms of what it is that you want to do. And what I mean by an idea in mind, I mean you're going there and you know that you want to put a post on there yourself, or you want to check in and comment on a post for sure. If you go there knowing what your objectives and goals are when you go on LinkedIn on your weekly visit, it will not be overwhelming to you because you'll just get your stuff done and then you'll leave. You'll just go.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Great.
Okay, Carrie Lynn?
Yeah, that's it for the questions right now. And we are at about 3 minutes till
We are.
7.
I
So,
just wanted, yeah. So Abhijit? And you're on mute. There you are. So we're at 6:57.
If you want
I
more
want to
time,
be
we can
respectful
have
of
that.
everyone's time. Could this be the part where you then do what you want to do, and then if anyone has questions afterwards and wants to hang out, they can do so?
Yes.
Okay.
So do you want me to end that?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much for coming today. We will have a Q&A session after this. So if you have any questions, please hang around. I really want to thank Rita for coming here. And I also want to thank Carolyn and Ashish for helping us with the tech. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too.